think so. I think this is the one that I've just been excited about. I mean, I
Dude,
think
I love
it's
this episode so much. I saw it like 5 times that week that came out. I'm like, dude, like, what the frack is this? Um, I'm not a big fan of Neil Patrick Harris, but dude, he killed it in this episode.
whoa. Not a big fan.
I'm not a big fan.
Don't I could say the only thing that I can say that I'm not necessarily a fan of him in of something that I've seen was Gone Girl.
I've never not you get to see that movie.
I just I hate controversial. I hated that movie.
I've never
It
seen that
was just
movie. I've never
it
seen
was
that
so
movie.
bad. I
It's an
could say that
good.
almost everything else I've seen Neil Patrick Harris in, even if it's not a great movie or show,
Mhm.
he has always done well in. He is a great actor. Regardless of what you think of How I Met Your Mother, he was good in it.
I didn't like that show, but only
No,
because
I
I
know
was going
I
through it. Only because I was going through heartbreak at the time. When that show was happening, I was going through some stuff, and I was going through heartbreak. So I'm like, frack this show and frack Neil Patrick Harris. Um, no, like the biggest reason, and this is why my it's so petty, but was like, I guess Kevin Smith. I might edit this out, but I guess Kevin Smith said that like something was happening with Jay Muse, and then like he was belittling Jay Muse or something like that, and he's so like he was, I don't care what you say about me, but don't you just say shit about my friends. And I guess that's why I kind of was like, oh, really, really, Neil Patrick Harris. But again,
I mean, there's probably something that they might have done together to where, I mean, Jason Mewes was on so many drugs and so much
yeah,
alcohol that it was just so toxic. I mean, he had to get clean,
yeah, exactly. But
you know.
but I did love him in this. I thought he was amazing. I thought he played. I think this is his Joker. If that makes any sense.
I mean, I could kind of see that. I think, he's definitely one of those characters that emulates that feel of total control. He
Hmm.
is as unhinged as he can appear. He knows he's in control 100%
Yep. Like,
until he's not. Kind of situation, that whole trope that you'll find in a lot of action adventure kind of things. But
mhm.
he is he knows exactly what he's doing. He knows everything and he's got it under control.
um,
And I think it was interesting because I didn't really know this. Apparently that whole story is actually real
what do you mean?
on how they collected images for the television. I didn't really know that.
Oh,
That's not a story that I'd ever heard
I knew.
of how the television was invented all the way back then. I thought it was more recent
Yeah, I didn't know that
in
either.
regards to that.
I did not know that either. I thought that was pretty interesting. Um, I thought the character was pretty cool. I felt evil in this character. I'm like, this character is not like, yeah, the match was bad, but this guy was evil. Like he was just like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna play with you. I'm gonna mess you up. Um, like that
Well, I mean,
scene,
that would be in the inherent nature of the name
the what
as
was it?
well.
The
I
toy.
mean, it was just, well, in this version, it was just the toy maker, but we go back to 1966, it was the celestial toy maker.
Yep.
Had this idea that it was this god-like character that can do whatever he wants.
It reminded me of something out of Twilight for some reason. I'm like, it's very Twilighty, but yeah, I thought it was cool. I thought it was awesome. I thought that my favorite scene of the whole thing was when he comes up and starts killing people with to Spice Girl, Spice Up Your Life.
How bad is it, Doctor?
Something entered this world in 1925. I don't know how.
And I warn you, this thing can get from 1925 to now like stepping through a door. But if we're lucky, the program I'm giving you can detect the decay of an energy signature from 98 years ago. Might be on Earth, might be in orbit, might be in space. But if we can find the entrance, Maybe we can turn it into an exit.
What are we fighting?
An elemental force. Beyond the rules of the universe.
What's that supposed to mean?
You think life is a balance between order and chaos, but the universe is not binary, far from it. There is order and chaos, and there is play. What's that?
Could you turn that off, please?
Who is that?
Oh, I think he's here.
Detain him! What happened to them?
They're dead. I'm sorry. Just stop it. Let me talk to
Come on!
you.
Open fire! Take him out! Take him out! Let me out! Get down!
See ya, hold tight.
You're okay?
I'm fine. I was lucky.
Doctor, who is he?
I'm like, that is so messed up, but it's so funny at the same time.
It was and that's kind of where you get that pull from anything traditional
Mhm.
in Doctor Who. Like that's I can't think of any time that that's really ever been done before.
Dude, right? Like that was so. I'm like, dude, like I've never seen it before. This is so cool.
And I'm curious to see if that's going to continue in the future. And I can't necessarily say it will. I mean, although you have had, I think, some scenes with maybe some more current music in there at some point, but it's generally not the typical, just because all the music rights and stuff like that as well tend to get expensive, especially when you're rewatching it and syndicating that to pay it every time it goes out. But I mean, it's Disney money now.
Exactly, that's what they were saying too. But I thought that was cool. I thought that one scene where the dolls come to life. That scared me. I'm like, okay, this is terrifying. This is really, really scary. This is the type of Doctor Who episodes I like, where I'm like, he knows this is serious. He knows it's not just a romp around time and space. This is like things are at stake here, and we need to take this seriously. And I thought that was awesome. There's other scene
It was interesting when he brought back the idea of 3 previous characters. All 3 of them, Davies didn't write. By the way, it's not like he brought back Rose or Martha. He talked about Amy, Clara, and Bill.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. I was gonna say that too. I thought that was cool that you referenced them. I'm like, dude, why?
Because they were all characters that died. And like you talked about the stakes, I mean, like those were some of his best friends, his companions. And it almost there was this foreshadowing of death. And you felt that the entire time. And I think that's what he was going for, was to evoke the emotion that David Tennant's gone, David Tennant's leaving, you know.
Yep.
And then like that was the emotion, and there was a lot of potential foreshadowing in there.
Yeah, that was a cool scene. I thought that was like not the master, the toy maker's way of saying like, yeah, you messed up. He goes, no, I didn't. They're still alive. I'm like, no, dude. Well, that's all right then. Um, that was just
Oh God, that line.
that was
Like,
sublime, dude. That delivery was sublime.
mhm. It was just very much fear invoking.
Yes, like I love that you saw that too in Tennant's face, in the doctor's
Mhm.
face, like him, like you're poking the bear right now. You can see the anger when he was trying to justify himself. But no, they're not dead. They're not really dead. I'm like, I don't know, dude. It's like,
They're all they're all dead, but it's also one of those things that you have this now inclusion of another former companion. Could it be foreshadowing another companion's death? Could have been
mhm.
foreshadowing Donna's death. Like it really makes you think like what's going to happen. And you obviously everybody again, the one thing that I hate with this such a spoiler zone out there is that everybody knew that the new doctor was coming.
Yeah, that
We
that was
knew that
that,
his time was short lived, and maybe that's the point of these the episodes was that it was only supposed to be the transition period, and that's fine, like to know that, but it also takes a little bit out of it. You're like, well, what's going to happen? And obviously, in this case,
I'm glad you brought that up too, because like
it's different.
I wasn't a fan of that. I'm like, oh, I miss. I kind of wish I didn't know that he was coming. But I think every doctor who's been since the news show since I've been watching Doctor Who, we've always known there's a new doctor coming a year in advance. Um,
Yeah, I mean, they have to do the whole press tour and all that stuff. I mean, obviously, and I'll tell you this because the first time that I saw the first regeneration scene I ever saw was obviously me catching up on Netflix. I'd never seen the show before. And then all of a sudden, Eccleston changes to Tennant. And you're like, what the frack happened? Because
exactly.
again, you had no version of any of the previous stuff. Like I hadn't done any research on reading it. And that to me was the coolest, most bizarre thing ever. And that was probably the moment that I got hooked.
Same. That because again, same thing. I'm like, what is this show? But I remember I was watching it because I have a comic book cover time where it's Amy and Matt Smith on. I'm like, what is this? So I'm like, who is this guy? That's when I went deep dive into like, well, I'll keep watching until I get to that guy. But I'm like, this is a good show, and that duration. But also thing about this regeneration that kind of felt like another cop out was the bi generation.
Feels different this time. Ow!
What?
No way.
I didn't like it. I did not like that. I felt like a cop out because that way they can still keep Tennant around and he can get old or whatever, but still have the new Doctor too. I feel like
Well,
that was a cop out.
and that was everybody's argument was that, oh well, now that he's not dead and everything like that, that they can keep him around. But I mean, we'll get into that in a second. So obviously, that scene almost broke my heart. I was in tears. I was not expecting that. I'm expecting him in a traditional Doctor Who way to regenerate at the end of the episode. I'm thinking Tennant's going to defeat him somehow. Maybe one of the companions might die, and that's why he brought up the companion scene, talking about him like, is Donna going to die? You know, is Mel going to die? Lethbridge Stewart. And then all of a sudden, he just fires at him.
And you owe me one more game! I played the first game with one doctor. I played the second game with this doctor. Therefore, your own rules have decreed I play the third game with the next doctor.
Yeah.
And he's got this hole in his chest.
Yep.
And it's just this scene, and I started crying. I was like, oh man, I gotta watch this again. I don't want to go, kind of thing. and then all of a sudden, oh, it feels different this time. I need you to pull me. And it, again, Tennant's a wonderful actor. That felt maybe a little forced.
Yeah, I would second that. It felt very forced. I'm like, wait, what?
But the idea that the doctors got to interact, and in the 60th special, I thought that it was kind of necessary because if we look back, I want to say every anniversary has had multiple doctors in the episode.
I've only
I
seen
want to
the
say
50th and this one. I know that there's one for the 5
so
doctors.
the 10th the 5 doctors was the 20th anniversary. I want to say.
Okay.
And then I want to say that the 3 doctors
Well, for the 10th.
was for the 10th one. There was nothing for the 30th because I was in the middle. And then obviously I don't think the 40th.
No, because that would have been
the 40th. So the 30th and the 40th weren't done. So we're talking for the 10th, 20th, 50th, and 60th. We've had multiple doctors in the episode. And so that was one of those things. I know some people were like, is somebody else going to come back? You know, obviously Eccleston's not going to come back so long as Davies is there.
Yeah, there's a panel
But
about
there's
that.
talking about Matt Smith and Capaldi and Whitaker, and it was too soon. You know, we had already just had basically 3 episodes prior. We had already had all the other doctors come back. So what was going to happen for this one? Boom, by generation.
I didn't like it. I thought it was a cop out. I'm like, I mean, I get it. It's something new. It's something different. It's something exciting. I'm like, okay, cool. Explain it to me, because they said it was a myth or whatever.
But yeah, but again, he poured the salt at the edge of the universe.
Yeah,
He invoked the superstition. And granted, I would have preferred had it been mentioned in a previous episode. If they had mentioned it in one of the 2 specials or earlier in the episode to drop that hint. That's the only reason I didn't like it.
Yeah, because
because it came out of nowhere.
Exactly. That's what I'm like. I went to film school, take a shot. So every time I mention I went to film school, we say take a shot because but there was like set it up that this is happening. Don't just like pull it out of your butt. Which I thought they did. I'm like, dude, what? Again,
and I know that was probably the idea from the beginning. But like you said, you need to foreshadow it with like, I don't know what this regeneration was. Like, you know, I've just learned all this new information about myself. Because obviously he wouldn't have known it the first time around about the whole timeless child thing.
Right, exactly.
And so now he just learned all this new information about himself. That's when, if he's talking to Donna, I would have loved for them, like, well, there's this whole thing, like, how did I regenerate like this? Well, you know, there's this kind of regeneration and this kind of regeneration. You know, we've heard prophecies about the bi-regeneration. And then like leave it in that first episode.
Yeah, but
so I think that was the only disappointing part of it for me, was that it wasn't put into any previous episodes to really make us like be like, oh, is that a possibility? Like, is this that scene? And then what does bi-regeneration mean? Could we have gotten 2 new doctors?
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, so yeah, I felt like that was a cop out.
I don't think so though, because they've already kind of done that.
Was who though?
With David Tennant.
Yeah, no, you're right.
And the whole meta crisis situation where he puts the energy into his hand, and he's like, oh, I decided to just regenerate into myself again. Basically what he did, and then another doctor came out as well.
No, you're true. You're right. I forgot about that. You are right. You're right. You're right.
So it doesn't necessarily feel like a cop out, but again, the idea is there was no mention of it beforehand for there to bring up the suspense of what could happen.
Yeah.
You know, because I feel like Davies had these ideas. It's not like he just came up with it like during the scene. Hey, by the way, we're bringing you in like 2 weeks earlier. Like, no. They already had to have known this.
Yeah.
But then what did you think the second you saw him on screen?
The new Doctor.
Yeah.
I loved him. I thought he was awesome. I thought he reminded me a lot of David Tennant's energy too. Like, all right, let's a little bit of a little wacky, little like crazy, eccentric character. I'm like, all right, it's gonna be fun. He's gonna be a fun Doctor. Yeah, I'm excited for his adventures. What did you
I
think?
think that'll be good. He brings a lot of life to
Yeah,
the screen in his presence. Just even in that 1 to 2 scenes we really see him in. That kind of whole thing. The one really disappointing thing. So we've got this idea, this elaborate toy maker.
Mm-hmm.
This guy who's in so much control. He basically just killed the Doctor with this space laser that rips satellites apart. Yet somehow it actually didn't destroy the building. It just ripped a hole through David Tennant. But whatever, plot hole.
Yeah.
Plot hole in itself. That building should have been ripped apart. So we've got this bioregeneration. This Doctor's gone through no problems, by the way, and maybe that could be why all the regenerations kept getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
Like the TARDIS was getting destroyed left and right every time the Doctor regenerated.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, yeah, the Doctor'd been through so much trauma and all this other stuff, and for some reason this one is now good, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Doctor sorted through some of that, but you have all this going on. Toymaker's kind of sitting there for a second, right? And then all of a sudden, what do they decide to do? Let's play catch.
Yeah. That was like, okay, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, I thought that they did a great job filming it. I thought the actors did a great job with it. But out of anything, the Doctor had so much confidence that I'm going to out throw this guy like with this little rubber ball.
That was what threw me off. I'm like, you're gonna play catch. That's the big, which I get. Which I mean, it's not. It's true to form for Doctor Who. But I'm like, I wanted something cooler. But all right, but it is. That's why I'm like, go on.
It just felt a little anticlimactic to me.
It was
We
very
just had this
anticlimactic.
massive emotional scene. Tennant's dying. And then, you got this whole bioregeneration scene. You got this new life to it. And then all of a sudden, oh, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, it was. It was like, okay, I guess, but it was fun. It was my favorite of the episodes out of all 3 episodes of the special. Like,
No,
okay.
it was good. But so you're alluding to there was one person, even the toy maker didn't want to play, and he talked about it.
Yeah.
So who is this? Is it a previously seen person? Is this somebody new? What do you think?
I think it's somebody. I think it's the new Big Bad Wolf. I think it's the new. I want to say Dalek, because we're not gonna see it this season, but I have a feeling at the end of this run of maybe this Doctor's run, or maybe not this season, but the next season, it'll be Dalek or something from his past, or maybe something from a timeless child. But again, it's something the Toymaker didn't want to mess with. who is that we've never that we haven't that we who in the past of the Doctor has been that scary besides the Master, and even we know the Master is in the dude's tooth.
Well, yeah, but you see that the tooth gets picked up. It's very reminiscent of I want to say it was the Ring, the Johnson Master Ring, the whole same red nails picking up the ring after the Master dies, and then the red, I want to say it was red nails picking up the gold tooth. So we can expect the Master at some point coming up. Obviously, he defeated the Master, and I don't think that the Master is that big bad. Although I wouldn't be surprised if the Master was then going to work on behalf of this new big bad.
I don't know,
You know, just like if we saw the Meat come back,
because he referenced it to the Meat referenced the boss.
yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised.
I want to say it's a Dalek, but I mean because, or maybe something from the Timeless Child homeworld. That's all we haven't really seen, and we don't know much
Well,
about.
but here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. I don't know if I mentioned earlier. Some of that potentially got retconned.
Yeah.
The entire Timeless Child, a lot of this stuff, and maybe that's why we hold this whole Gravity Mavity situation as well. The toy maker talked about messing with the Doctor's timeline. Did you enjoy all those little things that I did to you, kind of thing?
Yeah.
So some people are saying, well, did he just retcon Timeless Child, saying that was all a lie, that the toy maker put that lie out there? Because again, he might have already fought the Master, and the Master was then working for him at that point, and that's how the Master survives in that explosion, kind of thing. You know, and that could be part of it, and blah blah blah. You know, there could be something along those lines. You know, maybe that's all true, and maybe he was just messing with the Doctor. Maybe he actually did nothing.
Here on this channel.
Sorry.
So I'm like, there's so many possibilities that Davies now has to work with for this. You know,
I don't know.
And I think when we talk about going into the next episode and everything like that, closer to when the next episodes come out, I think there's definitely a lot to work with.
Yes. But I don't know I honestly don't know because there's so much history that's been done too. Like there's a lot of the Doctor's ever meant are the Doctor Main's like regular arch nemesis. And then the Weeping Angels are one of them now, too. So I'm thinking it'll be somebody new, somebody we haven't seen. But I mean, yeah.
I gotta imagine that it is something new, considering that that's the direction that the BBC wanted Chibnall to go. But obviously, with Davies coming back, we might see a couple other people make their return.
Something that comes to mind that it could be, because now you say Jack Hartman, I'm like, oh, the face of Bo.
We did get to see the face of Bo, and knowing that is, and maybe we get to see some of that come up, which would be kind of interesting to bring some of that storyline back. But it is just really kind of fun to speculate on what it could be, and it keeps that suspense kind of going, because beyond any kind of rumors or anything that I've seen, I do try to stay away from a lot of the feeds and being like, or any like legitimate spoilers coming up from the show. There is one that I accidentally stumbled upon that I'm not super happy that I saw, but it sometimes it just can't be avoided on the internet.
Yeah, that's. Anything that you want to touch on? We've been going for an hour and a half. This is the longest.
Yeah.
This is the longest I've ever had in any of the episodes. which is cool for
Oh,
me.
really?
It really is.
Dude, there's so much to talk about. But I think going in, I'm really liking his energy. I mean, obviously, we'll talk about some of that and his portrayal of things going forward. I think that part of the Toy Maker's Prize, and Davies pointed out this. Yes, he does live, but there's no intention on bringing him back, at least anytime soon, for David Tennant.
Mm-hmm.
That he does want him to rest and go in peace and just do his own little thing. And that's why he is able to be the doctor that he is without all that trauma, because he was finally able to have all that, and he doesn't want to bring him back. If you hear anything about it, this is now season 1, this new season.
Let's talk about that for a
That
minute.
era of New Who is complete.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute, because that's something that I've been seeing a lot, and I'm like, and you mentioned it to me too, but I'm like, dude, like, so what happens to the previous? Does that mean that old Who is now gone? Is new Who now old Who?
I want to say, because the old one was I've always seen it as classic Doctor Who. It's how I've always seen it referenced. This will be New Who, and You Who, I think is the new one. I have no idea what this is going to be, because you know how it's British, so it was always series 1. They were
Right.
never seasons; they're always series.
Mm-hmm.
And now this is season 1. So I am kind of curious as to how everything's gonna be going forward in regards to, again, what is it called? Is it Doctor Who Adventures? Like, because if you look on IMDb, it still says it's under season 15.
Yep, I'll do that right now.
So it's not like it's in its own new category, you know. So I'm curious how at some point when those episodes start coming out, if it will actually have its own category in IMDb. Granted, that's all fan based stuff; it's not actual solid stuff. But
It could also be season 1, because what they're calling it for Disney Plus.
yeah,
Bring in
it's under the new Disney Doctor Who. So I'd be curious to see in anything that the fans do whether or not they'll actually make that distinction to separate it.
Mm-hmm.
Considering that we do have more of a tie-in to start this new Doctor Who than we did previously.
Yep.
You know, other than the fact that we're just supposed to trust that this is now the 9th Doctor going in with Eccleston. You know, like, having never seen it before, you're like, oh, this is the first Doctor. Like, knowing that he might have lived even previously, talked about the things he did, you know, like, we don't really know. So I'm curious to see where all that goes, and because it is a new series, are they going to bring back a lot of those old people? Even.
Yeah, you're right, because yeah, it's weird because because they brought in the 10th Doctor or the 14th Doctor to turn into the new Doctor. So it doesn't make any sense as to why they just restart again like that.
I think it's just branding. It's got to be all branding. The
I
fact
think
that the show started to tank a little bit, like, let's revive it. It's because it's not a reboot, or it's like a soft reboot. Just even kind of what season 5 did. Like, it's one of those ones that I think going forward, you may not have to have seen the previous Doctors. You just need to know maybe from the previous, from the new special. Maybe that's where he's going to continue it from.
I mean, because if you think about it, every regeneration is a new reboot. It's a soft reboot.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But the idea is that maybe because it's a new season, that special will be episode 0 on it, and that we won't necessarily have to know much about the characters going forward.
Yeah.
Because they'll explain a lot more of it than they would have in the past. You know, because even the original show, the way that they have to explain the Dalek when we see it in like episode 5, or like it was like 4 or 5 in series 1 with Eccleston, is he like goes into detail explaining it and like showing this off, you know.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's kind of where we're gonna go forward. But I mean, who knows? I'm excited. May can't come soon enough. We still got 4 more months until these new episodes come out.
Is it? I didn't know it was till May. I thought it was already okay. May. Oh God.
Yeah, so May 2024 is when those new episodes are coming out. So we still have a few months.
All right. Well, yeah. Okay. I guess.
Sorry to disappoint you, but
Final comments, final thoughts.
if you're going back to the rating the episode, I'd probably give this solid 4.5, 4.6 out of 10. I thought it was really well done. You know, realistically, other than that semi-anticlimactic ball throwing scene and no talk about the bioregeneration beforehand, I thought it was
A cop out.
darn good episode.
I'm gonna give it a 4.5 out of 5 too, or 9 out of 10. Yeah. It was close to perfect.
Yeah.
It was just that I'm like, dude, wait, what? That by narration, and then I'm like, oh, yeah. I was just like, okay, yeah. And then again, I just feel keeping Tennant around, like he's not really gone. He's still here. I'm like, that's a cop out. I'm like, no, dude, you should be completely gone. You brought him back. You had 8 years. You had your cake and ate it too, regenerating properly. But you're doing this, okay, fine. All right, the guy.
Yeah, it definitely has that feeling to it. But according to IMDb, it's only an 8.3, so it's only 0.1 better than Wild Blue Yonder. So I mean, that just tells you the vast scope. Like we're like both like, oh, this episode was so much better than the other two. And according to the general whole of, you know, probably a more broader range of people, it's only like 0.1 better.
Well, they're not Hubians like we are, Tocayo.
No.
Yeah, we are Hubians. Well, you're more so than I because of the Gallifreyan tattoos, which I think is awesome.
Gotta get one right on your cheek. Right
wait,
there. Right there.
Right here. All right. Yeah. I thank you, Tocayo. Thank you for joining out. This is the longest episode I've ever done with anyone on anything. This is kind of cool. Will you do this again? Would you come out again and do another episode about anything?
Yeah, depending on what we can find. Yeah, I mean, I know we want to talk about and what we can talk about when a couple more of those episodes come out and the special as well. So I'd be willing to do that.
We will definitely do that. We'll meet up offline and we'll talk about that when we do that. But again, thank you, Tocayo. Thank you for joining me for this. We'll see you same fracking time, same fracking channel. Frack off.